Well, hello everybody. This is a new setting that we've got here, but it's a beautiful setting, not because of the view behind me, but the view in front of me. Megha Gupta, have I got the last name pronunciation correct?
Yes, you
I
did.
got it perfect. Is my beautiful guest here today. Welcome
Thank
to the
you
Kris
so
Gethin
much,
Podcast.
Kris. Thank you.
Of course, it's been a long time coming.
Yes.
We've tried to make this happen several times. We've been passing ships, but finally we've got it happening in person.
Yes.
Cool bananas. And just in case you're all wondering, she brought me a beautiful birthday cake here. Isn't that so beautiful of her?
Is
So,
that in frame?
yeah, it's in frame. I noticed that. So I was like, well, we got to keep that in, just in case they're wondering.
Yeah, it was his birthday yesterday. And Kris, like you really, like I was telling you off camera, you can put, you put 49 to shame.
Thank you very
Totally
much.
you do, yes.
Like I said, I'll make involuntary noises when I get up and get down from this sofa, and that will give it away. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about you, because you've got quite an interesting backstory. You come from like the entertainment industry, but you kind of then turned that on its head, and we'll talk about what you're currently doing now in the biohacking space. But what made you go from the entertainment industry, which I understand that you were prominently based in Mumbai, and then you moved to Goa to go on to a different venture? What happened there?
Kris, a couple of years ago, I got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. I'm 38 now. That happened around when I was 31. And it was completely unexpected and uncalled for. And usually, type 1 diabetes happens either at birth or before you're 10, 11. And that's why it's called juvenile diabetes as well. And I never really wanted to act. I started getting acting offers by chance, and I did it, fully in a fully committed manner. But when I got diagnosed with diabetes, I was like, now it's time to leave Bombay. I was never really a big city girl. I always preferred a place like Bali or Goa, and I wanted to move to Bali. But I also understood I would have been a little too far from my mother, and I'd have to change about 2, 3 flights to get to her in Maharashtra. So I drove down to Goa all alone and looked for houses, and eventually I just moved, and I wanted to be closer to nature and Earth Mother and our Father Ocean and everything. I mean, it's abundantly available here as well, but Goa just feels like there's less white noise, there's less, there's just mentally you're calmer. It's just better over there. Everything is better. Like you don't see a lot of people over there. It's nicer. And so I moved, and I have been able to take care of my type 1. I've been able to manage to a large extent, and that's why I moved.
Right, interesting. So when had you been there, you'd visited there before, or you decided, I'm just going to drive and see where the car takes me?
I had been there before, but to go there as a tourist, uh, as compared to go there and really live, are two different, things altogether. And so I drove there to look for a house, to see how it really feels like to live there, and not just like for a couple of days with friends, getting together, going there, drinking, having a great time, and coming back. So I like completely took to Goa. It was a no-brainer. From the day I moved, there were so many people who moved and who were like, "This is not for us," and they moved back to either a Delhi or Goa. Sorry, Delhi or Bombay. They couldn't handle it, but we just fit so well together. It was the best decision.
So yeah, it is definitely a beautiful place. Like I've visited there a couple of times, as you know, and I've visited you there, and like it definitely has a bit of a more bohemian vibe. It's very laid back. It's very chilled out. Beautiful weather there, that's for sure. When I visited, anyway, was that part of it? Of course, you got the nature, you got the ocean, you got the weather. But was there like a spiritual vibe that kind of attracted you to the place?
Oh yes, oh yes. It was. I think it was time. So it happened at the right time. The whole place, all of India for that matter, has a lot of healing energy because we are also the land of Ayurveda, of Tantra, of homeopathy, of yoga. So the land as such has a lot of healing elements to it. But Goa in itself is a land of people of all places and mixes, and so everybody's welcome. You can just come there and be yourself, no matter who you are and where you're from. And at that point, it doesn't matter how much money you have and which house you have and which car you have. everybody over there is the same. And that for me feels really good because you can just be, it's no judgment zone. And yes, of course, the spiritual element to it was highly inviting.
Interesting. Was it hard to kind of step away from the entertainment industry? Because I could see how that would be so attractive to a lot of people, especially as you start getting offers and you know you're getting recognition. Was that hard to step away from that, the limelight?
Absolutely not. It wasn't difficult at all because I, how do I explain this without sounding a lazy person? I never wanted to act. I got offers and I'm truly blessed about that. I got offers and I did them, but acting was never my passion. I took it as a 9 to 5 job. If I had to go to an award function to either perform or receive an award, I would go do it and leave. I wouldn't hang and socialize and network. I literally did it as a job. I know it sounds not convincing, but like it was literally a job. I did it as a job, left it there, and came back home and never had any airs or about the accomplishments. So no, leaving it did not bother me at all. In fact, now as well, I'm blessed enough to get calls and messages about wanting to come back and do a web series or a show, but it doesn't tempt me at all because my life in Goa is just so beautiful. I don't feel like trading it for anything.
That's cool. That's cool. I could definitely relate to that because I was kind of known going to a lot of the like fitness or bodybuilding expos, and as soon as I was done with the event, a lot of people, you know, you're invited to go to like an after an event or a party or a dinner. I'd be the person going straight back to the hotel, either
Yeah.
working out or just staying in my room to kind of detox. You know, from all the energy exchanges that you get from people is quite exhausting. Some people thrive off it. Some
Yes.
people are just exhausted by it. I do always get exhausted by it.
Yeah. I mean, knowing you now, I can totally believe that you are the person who needs to do a reset because I feel like you're the kind of person who people would feed off your energy from. And so you need to replenish and you need to come back to yourself and kind of come back to who you are. And yeah, but how would you do that other than being with yourself? Did you have any protocols or modalities that you would do?
Yeah, there's a few things. I used to write a lot.
Yeah.
I'd write a lot. Like I wrote several books. I wrote two books when I was here in two books and one graphic novel when I was here in India some years ago. And I just found that was very therapeutic. I was able to get it out of me. I journal so much and working out. Those are the two things
Yeah.
that I did. I know that you mentioned about like washing yourself and thinking that you're washing off a lot of the energies that you're taking from people. I'm assuming that was your ritual
Yes, that helped me a lot. Washing off with salt,
with
largely.
salt, yeah,
Yes.
or coffee and fruit.
Coffee and fruit. I would like take anything. All of my washroom is more of a pantry than a washroom. It's like nothing goes to waste in this house. And yes, you're right. I do use salt as a cleanser largely, whether it's my body, internal and external, and the house as well. So every morning we use a little salt in our cleaning and clean the energy of the house because like you meet a lot of people also come over to your place and leave their energy behind, and so it's important to just keep cleaning that, so for the house and personally for yourself as well. It personally works very well for me. I immediately see a change.
Interesting. Now, I know I've never experienced this in any other country, but I have here in India, where some people that I'd go out with, they wouldn't eat in a public place or restaurant based on their energy exchange because they didn't know if the food was prepared by the person in the kitchen who just had an argument with their wife or whatever. So they wouldn't consume the food that was prepared unless it was prepared at home with love, etc. Do you do that at all, or have you come across that here in India?
What you're saying should actually be followed everywhere. It's not, it should not just be an Indian thing. Basically, it's so right, whoever's preparing your food, because it's all energy, right? All of that mindset is going into the food through your hands. And so it's very possible that somebody might have had an argument with their spouse or their family member, or just not be in a good mood, or your spouse might have had an argument with you and is preparing that food. It can happen. I still go out and eat. I love to eat out and I do that, and I would not stop that because of that. But there are a few things that I do which really help me. So I bless my food. Just before I start eating, I'm like, if there's any energy that does not or would not serve me, should leave this nutrition. So there's a word in India that we call in Hindi, it's called khurak. It's it's your it's like the IVs that we take are our khurak. It's our nutrition. It's our portion. It's our nourishment. Yes, the word is nourishment. So for me, food is my khurak. It's my nourishment. I will give up on taste if this is healthy for me. I don't mind that at all. Like a lot of people are like, we're not going to give up on taste, and I'm like, good for you. I don't mind. But I bless my food so that all of the energy that would not serve me or my body should leave, and only the energy that would serve me the best should remain in the food. I also, whenever I remember, take 3 deep breaths before I eat, because it's very interesting. So it's your digestive system, right? If you don't digest your food well, the nutrition is not going to get absorbed in the body. And so when you take 3 deep breaths, your body relaxes, the digestive system kind of gets activated, the juices start flowing. If you're eating in a hurry, you're not going to absorb the food. And it's the eating, the absorption, and the elimination. They all have to work in sync. And so many times you could be eating all the healthy food in the world, but if there's not that absorption of nutrition that's happening, you're still going to be deficient.
So that's fascinating you're saying that about the rest and digest, because a lot of us,
Yes.
especially today, we eat in like a sympathetic state. We're constantly stressed, we're rushing meals, we're not conscious of the food that we're eating. So it's much like, this is how I think about it. When you're working out, you should be concentrating on the muscle that you're training. You've got to have that mind-muscle connection.
Yes.
And it's the same with the food. Unless you're focused on that rest and digest, then you're not going to digest it. That's why I think a lot of people do overeat. They eat a meal and then they go, oh, God, I'm still craving. I'll eat something sweet. Or what else can I eat? Because they haven't made the conscious decision that they're actually eating and digesting. There's a very interesting book that I read called The Slow Down Diet, which talks all about this, the importance of heightening your senses, the smell, the taste, the texture, looking at the colors of the meal, and just really appreciating how many hands it possibly had to go through to get onto your plate. Where a lot of us just take it for granted, eat, and then just move on to the next thing. So I really like that concept.
It's everything with intention. The minute you bring intention, excuse me, it just changes. I was speaking with this friend of mine, and she was like, my mom gives me this amla. It's I don't know what it's called in English, but basically a juice, and she's like, I hate it and I drink it each morning. I'm like, if you hate it, you already put that energy in that juice, it's not going to help you anyway. So you might as well save her the bother and don't have that juice, because she's, juicing it for you. So if you don't have the right intention, nothing is going to help you. And if you have the right intention, even a glass of water can help you cure cancer if you really put your intention in it and drink it. When we're sitting and chatting and, people have like a gossiping session or a bitching session and they've bitched somebody out, if you drink that water which was over there, you're drinking that energy, you're consuming that energy, because water has a memory of nearly 5.5 months, and you're drinking that, so it's going to stay in your body. So these little things are very interesting. That's why they say in India, bhajan or bhojan ek saath nahi. Bhajan is talking, and bhojan ek saath nahi. Not to be done together. When you're eating, eat. When you're talking, talk. Because again, like we are talking about this, that when you're eating, you want your system to digest that food very well, and intention, and the same like working out, your mind-body connection, because then you're going to build that muscle.
And there's actually science that backs up what you're saying, because they've shown the structure of water, haven't they? If you say something negative around it, you look at the water structure, there's no symmetry, there's no balance, there's no beauty to it. It's actually distorted. But if they've spoken in positive connotations around that water, it looks like a beautiful like snowflake.
Yes.
It's very crystallized, it's balanced, the symmetry is there. So it goes to show, that there's definitely truth to that. Now, speaking of water, I haven't offered you any water.
Oh, thank you.
Let me give you some.
Thank you so much.
Now,
even intention, I want to say this is so interesting. It's not just talking to it, right? Even intention. I've read a study which speaks about how even your intention changes the molecular structure of water. Yeah. That's crazy, right?
yeah?
Yeah, so even your intention can change the structure of water, not just what you speak to it.
I've given you a positive
Thank you.
intention to it. There
Thank
you
you.
go.
Are you sure you wouldn't want some?
I've got some.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
You go for it. Now, I'm fascinated about hearing about your journey into biohacking. How did you first, come across biohacking? Because it is kind of fringe across the world, especially here in India. But it's definitely grown in popularity. The word is definitely getting out there. I remember when I did a tour here in 2020, I think it was, with Ben Greenfield. And I'd done several tours around the country, mostly for fitness or clinics in regards to fitness and certifying trainers. Never done a biohacking tour. And I was very impressed how many educated people had turned up asking very educated questions in regards to biohacking. So it's definitely growing in popularity. But how did you first get your introduction about it? And since then, obviously, you've escalated. You've gone overseas. You're speaking at events next year.
This year.
Where did that come from?
I had just moved to Goa and I was sitting with a couple of people, and you know how these conversations bounce around about crypto and people moving to Goa and Goa getting spoiled and biohacking and this and that, and I was still trying to look for a solution to help with my type 1 diabetes. By then I tried keto, paleo, AIP, which is autoimmune protocol, intermittent fasting, that's something I still stand by. Raw and vegan, hugging trees, this, that, name it. I tried a few things, and I wasn't happy with it because I come from Punjab, the north of India. There's a state called Punjab, and we are, we love to eat, we love our meats. And I'm like, this is not satisfying me. I'm eating this avocado salad and I'm literally taking 2 steps out of the kitchen and I'm hungry again. I don't want to live like this. I need khurak. And somebody mentioned biohacking and carnivore at the same time. And I went back home, I flipped my laptop open, I'm like, what is this? And I went into this rabbit hole and all night, which is a very big deal for me because I don't stay up beyond 8, 9 p.m. So all night I'm reading up about the things that happen. And from the next day itself, I started including whatever I could with the means that I had in my daily routine. And I was able to bring my HbA1c down, which is the average glucose in your blood, from, I don't know, a 12 to a 7 at that point. And now I'm bringing it down further because the minute you go closer to your ideal mark, it's more and more difficult. It's like your body fat percentage. So everything flipped. I was able to slowly put on muscle because I was getting enough protein through meats. I'm sure there are other ways of getting protein as well, and that's not a debate I want to get into, but the meats were helping me. The sun, the sauna, the ice baths, the earthing, or the things that I could start with, just everything felt better. My body felt like it started filling up from the inside. And that's when I started following Ben and Tim and Dave and just started doing things and putting it up on my social media. And being an actor, I already had a little bit of a following, a verified account. And I started documenting my journey. And a few months later, Timu sent me a message saying, if you want to come down for this conference in Amsterdam, you're most welcome. And I was like, how do you even know about me? I was like,
well, you have over 1 million followers, so I'm sure.
Yeah, but I thought I was this girl just, quietly biohacking her life in Goa. And I was like, hell yeah, I'm coming. I was like, and from then on, it's been a great community of people from across the world. And meeting, established people, and I'm just in a position right now where I want to learn, simplify it, and tell my people, the people in my country.
Oh, right, okay, that's interesting. Yeah, and have you noticed that obviously because when you've experienced a change, it's a very authentic message to put out there. You're not selling snake oil. It's very, very easy. Have you noticed that people are very receptive to it here in India? Or do they that's gobbledygook. That's just not going to work. Why don't you do something simple like breath work or whatever? How have people been receiving it here?
Yes, that's a very good question, Kris. Thank you. People have been so receptive, and the questions that they ask, like you were telling me about Ben and you having these conferences, and the questions that they ask, they're intrigued and they are interested and they want to change their life. So I'm very happy that they are getting there, you know. They just don't know what to do, but they want to do it. And that's a very big and a very positive change that's happening in this country now. They're understanding that by the end of it, no house, no car is going to take them, you know, anywhere. It is their health that's going to last till the very end. And even though India is actually the country where a lot of things come from, which have now become fads, like your fat coffee was actually, we used to do ghee, chai, and coffee. It was an ancient thing. Even turmeric lattes, you know, we've been doing that for centuries, but it's become a fad in the West now in the last couple of decades, and it's great. I mean, it's great. So India always had it. Somewhere in the middle, we lost our focus and we got lost in transition between the British ruling us and all of that. But by now, they're all understanding that health is everything, and it's going to be a good mix of what we already know and possess and some knowledge from the West.
Yeah, 100%. Totally agree with that. You know, because if we think about it like the breath work, a lot of the breath work come from here, you know, from the yogis or from yoga. And like the spirituality is definitely a huge part that is here. Blue tea matcha. Have you had blue tea matcha? Blue tea matcha I had here, and it's from here. And that's huge. That's getting a little bit more exposure now overseas. There's people that I know in the space that have blue tea matcha, and I'm like, I had that for the first time in India. You know,
from the source.
yeah, from the source, you know. And so there's no doubt that this should be a hub where it expands from, because we do have today's technology, and that is definitely expanding here. I met a gentleman called Amit who's in charge of noise, that do, like, they're doing a wearable, they're doing like a ring now. They're working on a ring, a very advanced ring. They do like a lot of like the wearables that they have out there, like for the watch and whatnot. It's expanding the technology, but combining it now with the ancestral wisdom that you get from India. So merging these two together seems like a beautiful marriage.
Yes.
So I hope that expands a little bit more. So let me ask you, what have been the top, like 2 or 3, if you want to call them biohacks, that have really helped you? Like, I know, for instance, I could say like ice baths have been amazing for me because it helps me with my emotional stability. I'm able to react with a lot more control now if I have cold thermogenesis on a daily basis. By toning that vagal nerve, I have much more emotional stability. I don't have these crazy highs. I don't react in a negative way. I see things with a little bit more equanimity. And that's possibly because of what I learned from India as well, when I went on a 10-day Vipassana in Idaho, of all places, because they do have these Vipassanas all around the world. But it was S.N. Goenka here in Mumbai that made that famous, you know. But what are the top things that you feel that have helped you?
Oh my God, it's like between choosing your children.
Well, you can give me 3. Give me all 3 of your children.
I think the first one would be earthing. It is so openly available. It is available to every human on this planet. And if after a point I'm not able to feel my feet on the ground, like near sand or just earth, I feel disoriented. But to get there, Kris, you have to first, people will never know. Like, okay, quickly I'll tell you, there was this time when I had to go to Chennai and I was staying in this 5-star property for 7 days, and I thought the food would be sorted, everything would be great, they won't be using seed oils. I did everything right. They had the sauna, ice bath, everything. I was doing my meetings all week. I did the sauna, ice bath, workouts, but my body had this odor. Now, I don't really use body mists or perfumes or sprays, because naturally my body doesn't smell. I don't have that odor because you're living such a healthy life. You cannot smell.
Yeah.
I come back for a few days, my body just had this odor, and I'm like, how can I have this odor? What did I do wrong? As in, what was not in sync? And then I realized, I spoke to a few people, and all of that food was made in seed oils. In my head, I thought it's a 5-star property, they can't be doing that. But that's what they do, because they're cooking for the masses.
Yeah.
You know, even though it's a 5-star. And I'm like, this is why my body is signaling to me that it's rebelling. It's inflamed because of that. But how could I read that? Because I'm not masking it with perfumes. So you have to be very in tune with yourself to understand that you are going to feel disoriented if you have not been earthing. A lot of people don't feel that disorientation because they're so caught up in their daily routine. that disorientation is a part of their life. And that's sad and it's crazy. So for me, that would be earthing. Ice baths, I love them. The way I elevate myself is through challenges. I've understood that about me. I need a good challenge, and the ice bath offers exactly that. So the second one would be an ice bath. The third, and of course for muscle recovery and just, a perfect wake up morning thing, I love the sauna. It makes me sleep really well. I take it almost every evening. That would be my top three.
Yeah.
Those would be my top three.
That's a great top three.
Yes.
Great top three. Like the earthing is a huge part of my life as well.
Yes.
Like I'm so thankful that I'm right next to the beach here. And the crazy thing is, because I figured like earthing once a day enough would be enough. That's plenty. And I messaged our friend Tim when I was here last year. And I said, God, this always happens. Whenever I stay in a hotel room, I just don't sleep as well. Maybe it's all the non-native Wi-Fi. Like I've got an earthing mat there. I'm always earthing myself.
Okay.
The trainers that I've got there, they're Bahi. So I've got several pairs of them. So they're earthing trainers, but you can't beat, obviously, just walking barefoot. And he said, are you earthing? I said, yeah, every morning out there. I'm doing my cardio. He said, try doing it in the evening as well. Because obviously you're absorbing a lot of the negative energy, the dirty electricity, the non-native EMF, Wi-Fi, especially in a hotel, that you're absorbing and you're not, and it's penetrating, but it's not penetrating through you. So I thought, okay, I'll give it a go. So I started earthing twice a day. Lo and behold, I started sleeping fine. It's that powerful. And of course, I'm measuring it on my Oura ring. It's not a placebo effect. I'm sleeping. So it's very, very powerful. And a lot of people, I guess, disregard it because it's free. People in the biohacking space really like shiny objects that are expensive because then they value it. Yeah, because it's like if you pay like $1 for a training program, are you going to hold that much value into it? Well, some people will, but a lot of people won't. But if they're going to pay $1,000, oh, they're following it. And I feel that's the same way in a biohacking space. If it's free, meditation, earthing, sunlight, forget it. But if it's a red light therapy, and if it's now grounding shoes or a mat or something along those lines, then I go, okay, now it's probably working, which is the wrong way of looking at it. We always want to go for the natural version first and then take in technology when it's not available. Would you agree with that?
100%. My entire motto in life at this point is to bridge that gap and keep bringing people back to, you want the red light panel, you want the sauna, you want the ice bath, wait. Do this, and then level up.
Yeah.
Don't tell me you don't have access to that. You don't need access to that right now.
Yeah.
Finish this first, So yeah, I want to bridge that gap because people want the magic pill, but they don't want to work for it. And they would be like, just give me the stem cell therapy or just... And if I may say so, I want to say this. I also see that a lot of people in this community, they make those shiny objects very shiny and they want to talk about that. They'll be like, oh, I biohack my sleep and I sleep only 2 hours a day, and that's what they teach others. And I'm like, people look up to you. You cannot be saying that. The only way you can biohack your sleep is by good quality or quantity sleep. You can do that with supplements. You can do that with coffee, cocaine, whatever floats your boat for that point, But eventually you will have to sleep to function well. So I'm not happy with the fact that some people want to go out and teach people how to sleep less. That's not how this works. You're taking people away from what really matters. And so my entire, what I want to tell people is biohacking the holistic way. And that's my topic even at the 2 talks, biohacking the holistic way. Come down, be close to nature, use your nature and your body for the breath work, for the good sleep, for the movement, and nature for the sun, the land, the nutrition that it's giving you, use these. Then if you want to up your game, please I'm all about science. I'm not about religion, but all about science. I use the Whoop, I use other gadgets which help me. I call myself, and I know you are a bigger quantified Bob than me. I'm a quantified Bob. I want to know how well I slept, what my HRV was, so that then I can make changes wherever needed. And for that, if I need the sauna, the ice bath, the red light, the blue light, and then so on and so forth is good. But first, do the basics. Then, if you're having issues, then if okay, you've done this, then level up your game.
Yeah, I agree with that. And by the way, Quantified Bob, shout out. You're famous. Everyone's referring to you now. Quantified Bob, he's a great guy. So I totally agree again. And you know what, going back a little bit, what you said about the seed oils, that is 100% worldwide. You'll go to a very fine restaurant and you'll ask them, what do you have seed oils or anything like that? And they're like, no, we use soybean oil.
Yes.
It's like, oh my God.
Yes.
But sometimes they actually brag about it. Oh no, we don't use anything but vegetable oil here. And I had a picture next to a restaurant in Wales. It was about 2 years ago, maybe less. I can't remember. These years are all rolling into one. Where in the restaurant window, it said, "Our food is cooked in vegetable oil." Like it was bragging about it, and they just don't understand because, like you said, they're cooking for the masses. But I think it's not so much that they're saving money, yes, but they're just not educated. They don't know. Like I'm very much the same way. Like I tell the people here, my food has to be not cooked in vegetable oils. You know, I've got my own olive oil in there as well, you know, that I have.
This is a lab.
First
This
thing in the
is
morning.
Kris's lab. Like everywhere is La La Land. I'm like, oh, there's supplements, there's the earthing mat, there's the ice bath. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. Well, basically, I do some biohacks at home, obviously, but I find that I have to biohack a little bit more when I'm in a place like Mumbai or London or LA or something like that. Like I don't use a mat generally at home because I don't need it. But I find in places like this, I need to because I feel it. I'm definitely a sensitive little petal where I'm definitely electromagnetic sensitive without a doubt.
Really?
Without a doubt. That's why I have the phone case, I have the Defender Shield fanny pack, because I feel like I have a hangover in the morning if I don't negate some of those negative effects. Like I've got the Faraday blanket in there that I put on my bed to do whatever I can. I'll need to pack that actually for the flight tomorrow, you know. But you know, it goes without a doubt that you cannot treat yourself the same as you treat someone else. Because, like for instance, like my wife, she sleeps no problem in a hotel. She doesn't have these electrosensitivities. Like we were in Las Vegas once at an event, and this was at the Speedway on the outskirts, but there was that many people, thousands upon thousands of people within this sort of like arena. No one's phone was working because there was that many people in there. And for several days following, I just felt like I had a hangover. But then other people in our group felt fine. So you just have to be aware that just because it's invisible doesn't mean it's not there, you know, and we have to be aware of those things.
Those things, and you have to be in tune with your body.
For sure.
So if I was masking my body odor with fragrances, I would have never come to know that that was the seed oils. So coming back to seed oils, like this is the one thing that people can immediately eradicate. And what I do now is when I'm at a restaurant, I tell them politely that I'm allergic to seed oil. And now what I've also started doing is I'm allergic to seed oil and everybody on this table is.
Perfect. Yeah, there you go.
So they're like, okay, what's going on? Because I care for them. I feel sad that they would be having that. So I don't say this anymore that I'm allergic to seed oils. I'm like, all of us are. So whatever you're making, everybody has to be, it has to be cooked in ghee or in butter. You may charge us extra, we're okay with that, but nobody on my watch can have seed oils in front of me.
That's the great thing about being here, actually, because everywhere's going to have ghee. Everywhere's going to have the ghee. You're not always got that available when you go overseas.
Yes, ghee is, I can bathe in ghee, Kris. Like I love the fragrance and it's so good for the skin. It's so good for the hair. It's so good for the body. If I am feeling a little hungry and I don't really want to eat, I would just have a couple of spoons of ghee and I'm good to go. So yeah, ghee is really good. Talking about EMF, you won't believe I got into Mumbai a couple of days ago. My first night doing everything right, all my protocols, not drinking, nothing. I just woke up with that hangover feeling because I was in the middle of Bandra and all these buildings and antennas, and I was like, yeah, this is for real, you know?
Yeah,
it is.
It's definitely there. So can you talk us through your day? What's your routine? Like you said, you know, you're a big believer in fasting. Do you still do that? Walk us through morning to night.
I'd love to. I love my routine. On a typical day, I would wake up at about 4:30. I try very hard to have a glass of water before my coffee. That's something I'm still struggling with because I love the aroma of coffee. But I've understood that I love coffee, and coffee as such is not bad. And like you always say, it's you just have to make sure that you have a good quality coffee with you. So I do coffee with mushrooms and some fat. I read for about an hour and a half, and then daylight breaks. I open out the house, I light some incense sticks around the house, and I play some morning chants. And then I put the ice bath on, I take the dogs for a walk, and then I come in, get in, I journal, I take the ice bath, and I leave for my yoga. Then I leave for my workout. I come back. It's about 11 a.m. till then. And 12 to 5 are my working hours, all calls, messages, anything that needs to be used. I also needs to be attended to, sorry. I also don't use my phone first thing in the morning anymore. It's made a major difference to energy levels in general, because if you open your phone and start getting stuck with calls, emails, or Instagram scrolling, then whatever you've dreamt of is all lost. And I feel like there are those messages which you should be processing in the morning. And only when you keep your mind empty in the morning, they all slowly come back. I'm like, oh, this is the dream I had. What do you think it might mean? Even if I can't understand what it meant, I'm happy to know this is what I dreamt of. So working hours till about 5 p.m. Then I put the sauna on. Then I take the doggos for a walk. I come back, do my sauna, do grilled meats, the three of us. I have a golden retriever and a Labrador retriever. So the three of us are full carnivores. We have a party. We have jazz music playing. It's so much fun. Everybody's deciding who's going to eat what. And I love that they both love ghee and butter. I feed them like they are powerful, both of them. They're cute, but they're strong. So we all have that dinner, and then we all retire into bed. Blue light blockers, some reading, mostly scrolling on Instagram, because by then I don't want to really use my brain. And by 8:39 lights out, and I sleep like a baby till about 4, touch wood. And this is almost non-negotiable for me during the week. If somebody wants to meet, because I live in Goa and it's a tourist destination, people do come visit. And if they do want to meet, I'm like, you meet me at the beach 4 to 5:30, because then I can use their walk time at the beach. So we get some earthing in, and the dogs are very happy. And I also get in a meeting, and I get the sun and the salt and the air.
Perfect.
So it's clear.
So you don't meet anybody like at the typical 9 o'clock at night?
Absolutely not. I'll just be yawning. So I'm very happy to meet you. Do you want that?
Yeah, no, I don't do that.
I know you don't do that at all.
Yeah,
You're
not at all.
one level above me.
Yeah, because like people will say that. Hey, you want to meet up for a coffee? Sure. 9 o'clock at night. Are you kidding me? I'm in bed at 7:30, but coffee then. Yeah, it's definitely the culture. And the one thing, I've got a few Indian clients, and the hardest part is always trying to get them to go to bed earlier. They have to do it, otherwise I'm not going to work with them. And they all have to wear the aura, and they have to send me screenshots, so they can't lie their way through it,
Yeah.
But that's always been the hardest struggle working with the Indian clients. Getting them to get to bed early. Very, very difficult. But I know that they're just not going to perform. And it's good for them to witness it, because I'm like, okay, remember the weight that we did, how many reps we did, the intensity that we pushed, because everybody thinks, oh, I feel fine. Of course I'm going to do it. But then when they actually do it and they go, oh yeah, I didn't drink as much as I should have yesterday, or I didn't get to bed as early as I should have. Now I can feel it. Usually it's the food that comes last. If they didn't eat exactly how they should have, or maybe they missed a couple of meals, doesn't always affect them as much as the sleep and the fluid. Because if you think about it, there's only so long that we can live without sleep, not long. There's only so long that we can live without fluid, but we can live without food even longer. So it goes without saying that your performance is going to be down first with sleep and fluid before food. So it's good for them to witness that and go, aha, because they shouldn't be reliant upon me forever. They should be able to fly the nest and then realize, okay, if my performance is down, it's because I've gone back to my old habits.
That's very nice of you to say, Kris, that you don't want them to be stuck with you for a while. You want to make them powerful and independent.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good thing. I actually want to know from you, in this pyramid of functioning very well, whether it's in the gym or using your mind or using your body in the most optimized way, what is your pyramid? Like, I'm understanding now, you said sleep and then fluid and food. So what is this pyramid? What are the top 5 things?
Well, those 3, and then light. I think light is very, very important. Making sure that we're getting outside, getting light in the morning, in the evening. obviously getting those restorative red frequencies, getting the vitamin D, because a lot of us are indoors, we're in air conditioning, recycled air. You know, I have to sign every document available to get my windows opened, you know, because otherwise, you know, for insurance purposes, they won't do it. So I think it's very important to get outside and get fresh air. That's very, very important. And then, you know, luckily there is a sauna and steam here, and they've got a cold plunge. So yeah. So very, very lucky from that perspective, because I think, you know, much like you with sauna, especially when you're in a populated environment, there's a lot of pollutants in the air. Who knows? A lot of the food can have heavy metal contaminants in there. So I like to do Corella. I like to do a binder for about 30 minutes before I get in the sauna. So I can, or a niacin as well, so I can bind a lot of these toxins so I can sweat them out. So that's very important. I try to get my clients to do heat as well. You know, so there's a constant detoxification happening, because some people go, oh yeah, I'm going to do a juice cleanse, or I'm going to do a detox in 6 months' time. I think we should be detoxing all the time based on the environment that we live in today, that we didn't live in like 30, 40, 50 years ago.
That's true.
Yeah. So that's the top one. And then obviously, you know, blocking the light, the artificial light that we're exposed to, you know, because that flicker is very, very harsh on our retina. And that's what keeps us, you know, alive. What they say is the reason why the flicker raises our cortisol is because it's supposed to mimic us running through the forest. When we run through the forest, there's the sun and there's the flicker. So when we're running away from that saber-toothed tiger, that's supposed to raise our cortisol to go, okay, go. You've got to survive. You've got to live. But we're not in that environment when we're indoors. But our cortisol levels doesn't understand the difference. So I think it's very important. That's why if I go to a gym and there's a lot of harsh light, I know that, for instance, I could be lying down on that bench, pressing, facing up towards it. And my cortisol is getting spiked anyway as it is. So I just want to control that. But especially at nighttime, you know, like if I get on that plane tomorrow to London, it won't be so bad because I'll be flying when it's daylight in the UK. But when I come back, I know I will be flying when it's nighttime here. So I'll be wearing the red lens to ensure that I'm blocking everything and coming straight back into the zone without having any sort of like a jet lag or anything.
Yeah, makes sense. You're the jet lag king.
Yeah.
How much I have troubled Kris for all jet lag hacks is not funny. But I want to say something about what you spoke. This is so interesting. I did not know this. That makes complete sense. And also when this happens, when we are put in a flight or fight mode, we are not using up that energy, you know, we are not shaking it off. And you see that with animals, right? With dogs, every few minutes, they will shake off that energy. And I find it so interesting. We as humans are now leading a lot more a sedentary lifestyle that we did earlier. And so we're not dancing it off and we are not shaking that energy off. So it's all getting pent up and it's coming out in ways and forms which are not very conducive for us.
Yeah, that's true. So do you shake yourself off in the sand and stuff? Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. I'm a dancer. I just fractured my toe. I had a multiple fracture because I was just dancing away. And
you fractured your toe dancing?
I did. I was twirling. I was barefoot. I was on the dance floor barefoot, which is not a very smart thing to do, but I will still do it. And I was twirling, and there was another man dancing with somebody else, and he was wearing boots, and stars aligned in such a manner that he stepped on my toe, and it happened in such a way that my toe broke in 3 places. And so my friends were like, oh, now at least you'll stop being barefoot. And I was like, hell no. I will just be a little more careful, but I will not be barefoot. So I do love movement. I feel like my state of mind, my body, my skin, everything is so much better when I'm moving. Whether it's animal flow, whether it's strength training, whether it's yoga, whether it's just running. I shouldn't say just running, whether it's running, whether it's walking, whether it's dancing, ecstatic dance, I'm a big fan of. So yes, movement is really essential.
Yeah, it's very therapeutic.
Very.
Yeah, the main reason why I work out is it's not for aesthetic purposes. It's just for mental stability. It's just therapy. It is therapy. Like the hardest thing for me, like whenever I've gone through injury, and I've had so many of them, I'm fine because I can always work out something else, another body part, and that usually helps with the healing process anyway. But when I have stem cells, that is the worst because you cannot do anything for a couple of months because that trauma will attract the stem cells. So if I go and work out legs, the stem cells will go there, and I'm like, well, you're supposed to be fixing this. So that's a very tough one for me because I love movement. I have to move.
Yeah.
You know. One thing I wanted to ask as well now, so how can people get started to begin with? Like, I know you mentioned the freeze stuff, but there's going to be a lot of people here listening to this, and they'll want to go through a biohacking journey, and they've got all the, they can do the breath work, they can get the sunlight, etc. They can earth themselves. But what if they want to really go down that biohacking rabbit hole? Where do you think they should start?
There are certain pillars of biohacking that are non-negotiable. So that for me, sleep is really important, because like you said, you can't discount sleep, and then everything builds. Sleep is that wall on which you paint everything else. If you haven't slept well, that you're more prone to injury in your movement. You have more brain fog and everything. So that's another whole big topic altogether. But so sleep, movement, nutrition, sunlight, and earthing. So in all of these things, in these 4-5 pillars, there are the basics you do, and then if you want to upgrade yourself, now if you want to sleep well, red light therapy, sauna, and blue light blockers. Blue light blockers are so underestimated, Kris, right? Like the day I use them in the evening, I just sleep so much more better than now. If I don't have them around me, I always travel with them, but by mistake, if I can't see them anywhere, I can't find them, I don't use the phone. Like I've got so used to them. So if you do want to get started, then you might want to invest. It would be a good idea to invest in a good pair of blue light blockers, a red light panel, and where movement is concerned, I would say like even resistant bands, you can do so much with those, if you can't get to a gym. I don't know what I'm saying. How do you get started?
No, that's fine. No, you're on the right track. But everybody has a different perspective on how people should get started.
We should please cut that. Huh?
No, okay, we can. But everybody has it. No, but no, that's a good point because, like you said, sleep. Because I was going to say, like for instance, Riddick wouldn't mind me saying this. Like that guy has been riddled with injuries. He knows it, but his sleep could be better. And the thing is, like he will prepare himself so well with stretching, activating his muscle groups in a certain way to prevent the injuries, but it all starts with sleep. That is where the root cause of a lot of niggling injuries come from because the body hasn't recovered. If you do not recover, how are you supposed to optimize your performance and prevent injuries? Because now you're pushing your body towards or beyond its depths, and then if it gets out of depth, starts drowning in injuries, So I think you're on the right point. So a lot of the things that I do to get people started, I always ask people, well, my clients, I should say, not my people, but I ask clients to get their blood work done because I like to see where their deficiencies lie. Yeah. Because of course I could ask them to go out and get sunlight, which everybody should anyway, but some people, such as myself, doesn't absorb vitamin D through photobiomodulation. I have to supplement very, very high. I think it's genetic because my mum is deficient in vitamin D. She has to supplement high as well. So I like to look at people's blood work and go, okay, now you can stop taking all of those supplements because you're not deficient in them, but these are the ones that you are deficient in. And maybe because of this report, maybe we should take an organic acids test or a Dutch test or whatever it may be. And that's where I start to kind of implement things. But like you said, the sleep, the earthing, all of these are fundamentals that everybody should be doing anyway.
Yeah, I think to get started would be sleep. And that's a very good point. Blood work is so important. And even the process of elimination, it's so underestimated, Before you want to include things, see what you want to eliminate and eliminate through all your senses. So we were talking about food, right? For me, food, like I don't think I can ever date a man who's a vegetarian because eating meat for me is a very important and intimate experience with my partner. And it's not just the act of eating, it's the marination, the cooking, with all your senses. You're basically preparing with all your senses. So all the senses, using all your senses for the elimination. eliminating through what you see, eliminating through what you hear, eliminating through what you consume. The minute you can stop consuming what you should not be, automatically you will make space for what you must consume. And so the process of elimination, I think, is really important. Even the number of products that we are using these days, we are all made to feel that if we don't use this particular cream or this particular lotion or moisturizer or perfume, we are missing out. But we're actually not supposed to be using them. Women these days have, every second person has PCOS, PCOD these days, because you're messing with your hormones so hard. These are all hormone disruptors. So anything, your skin is the largest organ of the body, and you're using all these perfumes and deodorants and masking all of this, and it's getting absorbed by the body, the sunscreen, all of these things. So eliminating those things so that your body is not inflamed, your gut is not inflamed, and hormones are in order. So that would also be a nice place to start.
Yeah, it was just in the news, I think it was like, what day are we? Last week. There's 3 large laundry detergents, I don't know if you heard about this now, are banned because they found that they are carcinogenic, because we're washing our clothes and we're like, smells so nice. And like you said, we start sweating, our pores are opened, and now we start absorbing all these fragrances and like chemicals and perfumes. That is just our hormone disruptors, and a lot of them are estrogenics as well, and it's just not natural. And then we're cooking with Teflon and all this stuff.
Yes. And antiperspirants. Oh my God, I feel so sad that in my college I used, and not just a deodorant, an antiperspirant, which basically when you use, just it closes your pores.
Yeah.
I feel so sad that I did that to myself.
Yeah.
You know, sweating is a very good way of detoxification. And so, yeah, even antiperspirants for that matter.
Have you heard this, that some people inject Botox into their armpits? Have you heard that?
Not.
I've heard this. I'm not going to mention his name. I'm not going to mention his name, but there's somebody that I know that told me about that they do it because it stops them from sweating.
Did you slap them?
No, I didn't. They're not into biohacking.
That's not you.
They're not into biohacking. I was like, okay, interesting. There you go. Yeah. Didn't want to be, because he was sweating all the time. I sweat. But he didn't want to be sweating through his armpits when he was at work wearing a shirt, so he got Botox injected into his armpits because it stops the sweat glands.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I also heard about, I don't know if I can say it on camera, like, so basically somebody in the film industry, you have your rib cage, right?
Yeah.
They got 2 of their bottom ribs removed. I don't know if you've heard of this. They got their ribs removed so that they could get that hourglass figure.
Oh, really? I thought you were going to say so they could give themselves a blowjob or something then. Can I say that? I just said it.
I think this is all about what we can't say. We are going to say it.
That's interesting. A guy did that?
No, a girl.
Oh, girl.
Yeah, because
I was going to say, why would a guy do that? Okay, got it.
2 of them. And they got their ribs removed so that they could have that figure. And
interesting.
I could not get past it. I'm like, have we come to this now?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's insane. That's insane. But anyway, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for coming by, because I know that you've got to get on a flight. Hopefully you're not going to be late.
No, I won't.
Okay, I really appreciate it. But how can people find you? Where can they reach you?
Thank you so much, Kris. Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure talking to you. Where they can reach me would be on my Instagram. That would be Megha Gupta Official, and the website meghaguptaofficial.com.
Okay, great. And we will put these links in the show notes below so make sure that you check that out. But thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. Really appreciate you.
Thank you. You too. Thank you, Kris. Thank you.
Peace.